The gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ is not the same one that is in your bulletin, but it's one I will preach on next week. This is from St. Matthew in the 5th chapter. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hid. Nor do people light a lamp and put it under a bushel, but on a stand, and it gives light in all the house. So let your light so shine before all, that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. Now the grass withers and the flowers fade, but the living Word of God will stand forever. Amen. Okay, choir. Y'all may sit out there, because I really think this is important for you to see. And if you're able to move. And all of you in the North 40, you may want to move up so that you can see the pictures. Early service we had rain, so it got dark in here. You could see them better. You might find it's a little cozy and if we can turn off these lights right here, I think, yeah, Alan's got that. These two. Good. It's a privilege to, well, let me tell you first. The reason why I didn't read the lectionary text is I had invited Elizabeth Perry, our former day school director, and our missionary to Panama to speak this morning. But then I made a trip to Dallas, and I worked on the sermon up there, and then I worked on it this morning on a very difficult passage. And Larry comes in and says, Elizabeth's getting ready to speak. I went, oh no. Getting old is just not fun. So I've done some juggling here. I will preach on the second coming text next week, and then maybe we'll get back in order of the lectionary text. But Elizabeth is a very special person. She's a member of this church now. It took her a little while to decide, about 14 years. And but she is officially with us, and she has a very wonderful and interesting ministry to share with you this morning. And it's so important. When she told me about it in the office, I almost cried at one point. And those of you of sensitive hearts will almost do the same thing. So it's a privilege to ask Elizabeth to come and speak to you about her ministry in Panama City. I got to pin her up with this thing, so.
Okay, I'm good? Okay. Buenos días. ¿Cómo estás? Estoy muy emocionado de estar aquí hoy como miembro de la iglesia. Y emocionado porque quiero compartir mis experiencias in Panama con usted. I am very happy to be with you today. Because I'm a member of this church and to be able to speak to you as a member, it makes me so happy and so fulfilled. And to be able to share the experiences of Panama with you and the children there, how the Lord's working in my life and how He's working in the life of these children. It is just amazing. There are so many adventures I'd love to tell you about, whether it's about the interior or the rainforest or the mountains or the islands around Panama. There is so much excitement going on. But what I want to talk to you about today are the children, because my commitment is to the Lord and to serving Him through the children, and that's the whole reason I'm there. So this is coming across and seeing the skyline of Panama. It is a beautiful country. But why Panama? What took me there? A friend of mine for over 25 years, Annette Medina, belongs to Grace Point Church in San Antonio. And she has led a mission team to Panama for the last 10 plus years. They go for 1 week of service. They work hard. They do construction. They work with the children. We do vacation Bible school. We clean, we scrub, we paint. They were building my apartment. It's a wonderful team. And one thing that's important to know, it's all volunteer. These missionaries pay $1,500 to be able to go. It pays their plane fare and their room and board. Everything, the other expenses are on you, but they work hard. They do fundraisers. They take a week of vacation off work, and they give this in service of the Lord. Half of our team, or more than half of it, was around 25 to 30. And the reason I'm telling you about this is because it filled my heart so much to see these young people so committed and giving themselves and their time and their finances. It was so wonderful. Something you have that the earlier service didn't have is one of the members, I think there's one here. I know Barbara's here. Barbara, can you stand up? Barbara was one of the members of our mission team. And is Teresa here? No? Thank you. Barbara was wonderful. I was the oldest one. I've got you beat. I was the shortest one too, for whatever that matters, but it was there too. The mission team, this is one picture of us. This is actually inside my apartment. It wasn't quite ready by the time I got there, and when I left it still wasn't ready. But that's Panama. This is our team. Pastor Bob is in there somewhere. Barbara's in there, I'm in there. We took turns cooking. We lived in a hostel, of which you'll see the front of it in just a second. We had fellowship every night. We took turns leading Bible study, and it was just so awesome. And that week was so full and so inspiring. And after that week, they left. And they left me there. And they were my support group, and I felt so empty for a little while. The next picture is the only one without Barbara in it. And this is in front of the hostel. Annette is the woman in orange. She was going to be here today but had an emergency and couldn't. I'm the one in white. We were just having such a good time, and it was so wonderful. Pastor Bob told me when I first got there were 3 things that he wanted for the school and the children. First of all, he wanted them to come to know Christ. And hopefully through the children and through the parents' interaction with the school, that the families would come to know Christ as well. He wanted them to get a good education, and he wanted them to all to learn English, which is where I came in. And all 3 of those goals, it's very slow, but we are making progress. I can see it on a daily basis, and I get so excited when a child will read something in English, and sometimes I can read Spanish, but I'm not sure what I said. They can read English, but to comprehend it was different. But when I can ask questions and they can tell me back what they said, I get so excited. It is so wonderful to know that we're making progress. But this team was absolutely wonderful, and Pastor Bob is kind of the unofficial head of the school. Annette had prepared us for what we were about to come upon. The school is located in Panama City in a neighborhood called Curundú. It is not the best neighborhood in town. In fact, to call it a ghetto is really paying it a compliment. It is gang infested, it's drug infested, there's prostitution, there's gambling, there's alcoholism. All these things in this neighborhood affect these children. This is one of our other missionaries, Elizabeth, interacting with some of the children on the playground. The next picture, that's Annette with two of our children. Am I right where y'all can't see? The neighborhood. This is my neighborhood. I live at the school. I live above the kitchen in an apartment that's been built. And these are pictures that were taken about 4 years ago. Now, there have been improvements, and the school has been a big part of the improvements because we've cleaned everything up so much. The shanties and the shacks that were down the street from us have been torn down by the government and government housing put up. So there's been a rejuvenation and a spirit. It used to be kind of a red light district, meaning that the police were patrolled it quite often. Taxi cabs wouldn't go there after dark. A lot of that's changed. These are some of my neighbors. These are some of my neighbors. That's one of my children. This is a view out of the school onto the neighborhood. So you can see I'm not in Alamo Heights or I'm not in Chavano Park. I'm in Corundu. This is a good friend. Carrying laundry. This is the front of the school. And the school has the steps to where it's just comfortable for people to come and sit. And they do. The buildings are right up against each other. There's no space. They are brick on brick, and our playground is all concrete. These are two police officers. Panama has no military, but they have a good police force, and they patrol our school. The school is well respected and appreciated by all of the neighborhood. This again is in front of the school, and you're about to see a change. We've cleaned, we've painted, we've scrubbed, and the school now looks like this on the front. And that's me pointing up. Juntos Podemos is the name of the school. It means together we can. So the children. One thing I found out early on, that it was important to know the history of the children and what makes up their character. One of the little girls that I'll show you in just a moment, I was in a class the very first day after the mission team had left. This is their playground that, again, is all concrete, and you can see everything just butts up against each other. There is no space. We build up. And that's our playground. Soccer is obviously a big thing, and to show that I'm really into Panama, we're going to the World Cup. So that's a neat thing. This is Cookie. She's one of our cooks, and they feed these children. They have two big burners like this. They boil chicken or whatever the meat is in one. They boil rice in the other. They put it together, and that's lunch. And it's good. It's not bad. That's me with two of our teachers. This is a little girl celebrating the African heritage. The one little girl I was about to tell you about, her mother and father lived in upstate New York. The mother was Panamanian, the father American. The father was sent to jail for something. The mother died of cancer. The little girl was shipped to Panama, to a country she had never visited, a grandmother she had never met, a language she didn't speak. She was 6 years old. She didn't even understand where her parents were. The first day I was in a classroom, I walked in and the teacher said, "I'll be right back." Well, right back was about 30 minutes later. And so I'm making do with this classroom with this little girl who I did not know her history, threw herself on the ground and started screaming and crying and just had a real meltdown. And the kids didn't really react. It was like, just ignore her. And so I chose to just keep going, keep doing what we were doing. And the next thing I know, when I'm picking up papers, the little girl jumps on my back. She's pulling my hair. She's hitting me. She's kicking me. She reaches for a cabinet so I can't move. And she starts hitting me in the head with this cabinet door. And what do? This is a child. I'm not going to just throw her off. I didn't know what to do. And the teacher fortunately came in. She took her off my back and walked her to the office, and the child's still screaming. And it was as if nothing had happened. It was just a normal occurrence. Well, this little girl had been through so much. And I didn't find out her history till after the fact, or I might have reacted differently. So I learned early on to find out what makes up these kids. The little girl today is one of my dearest friends. I just love her to death, but I understand, and I can help work through things. This little girl, we were reading the storybook Corduroy, and I try to bring the stories to life. So I found a teddy bear, I took one of my t-shirts and cut it up and hand-sewed some overalls. I took a button off my blazer and put it on, because corduroy, if you know the story, only has one button. The kids love corduroy. They all hug him. He now lives in the library, and they get hugs from everybody. Even the 6th graders come in to hug corduroy. But this little girl, I fell in love with her. She is so precious. She's one of the first ones that stole my heart. And I started asking questions of what makes up this child, what's their story. This little girl, mother, prostitutes the little girl to help pay the rent. I cannot tell you how that ripped my heart when I first heard it. And the sad thing is, it's not uncommon. And it is just heartbreaking. They have smiles that will just win you over. Every single one of them have a different story, though. When we first came, the children did a program for us to say thank you, and they dressed up in their native costumes, and the older ones were doing dances, and the dances were extremely suggestive. And my mouth was open. I could not believe it. Those were things that I wouldn't have ever done, especially just. And Annette must have known. Annette was sitting next to me, and I must have shown it. And she reached over and touched me, and she said, "Elizabeth, you're not in the United States. You've got to realize you're in Panama, and this is their culture. And you have to understand that." Well, that was really hard. That was just like in The Wizard of Oz, that I wasn't in Kansas anymore. It was mind-boggling. I let it go. I thought, this is culture and I need to learn. But then one day I walked into the 3rd grade classroom, and 3 little boys had a little girl over in the corner, and they were making horribly obscene gestures with their bodies. I didn't even know what to say in English, not to mention trying to get it out in Spanish. I got another teacher in there, and the children were expelled, which was good, because I thought, okay, they're finally telling them this isn't okay, this isn't right. So I went and talked to Pastor Bob, and I said, I'm really having a hard time with this. I understand cultural and differences, but this isn't right. And he agreed. He said, no, it's not, and that's why we kicked him out. He said, one of the things you need to realize, though, is in Kurundu, when a young man turns 7, 8, 9, whoever the male figure is in their family, whether it's a father or a brother, which can be one and the same, or whether it's a neighbor or a friend or the boyfriend, they take the young boy to a place called a push house. The push house is a house of prostitution, and this is where they learn. These are little boys that are 7, 8, and 9 years old that should be experiencing their childhood. This is what they're experiencing. And all these kids have a different story. This little girl is dressed up. I was teaching them about recycling, so I gave every class a job to recycle and make clothing. This is made out of newspaper. They're very creative, they're very intelligent, they're street smart, while very unfortunate. Serves them well. These kids are sharp. They are capable of learning, and they want to learn. I got to work with them in small groups, because if you can imagine all these problems, when you've got 15 or 20 children in a classroom, and each one of them has some major issues that they experience every day. Some of them have seen their parents murdered right in front of them. They've seen drug deals. They've seen so much. They don't have child protective services. They don't have these laws that protect them. The school does protect them. And when they walk through those doors, they know they're safe. They know they're loved. They know they're going to be fed. They know that the Lord is there and is with them. And as teachers, we don't preach to them, but we do tell them stories about Christ and about God. And we try to show it through our own actions. But those teachers get really stressed out in the classrooms, because if you can imagine having all these dynamics in one class and trying to teach it, one person has a meltdown and it sets everybody off. And it's tough, it's hard, it's draining. and the teachers end up choosing their battles. You can't fight everything. But they come back the next day with their faith renewed and their service to God, and they're there. They're not there for the money. The minimum wage in Panama is $2.50 an hour. They are there in service of the Lord and in their commitment. It's these young girls were trying to teach me how to dance. So they were turning around, and instead of dancing, I'm taking their pictures. That's them dancing, and they're always trying to teach me something. They're amazing. This is another recycling project. The kids are smart. I'll ask them, why do you want to learn English? And they'll tell me, because I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a ballerina, I want to be a policeman. They've got the hopes and dreams of other children, and they know there's a better life, and they come in those doors, and they're totally different people. They're in a different world. This is a little girl from upstate New York. She is so beautiful and so sweet. And she is such a Jekyll and Hyde, and it's scary. We are getting her counseling. We are trying to help and see what we can do. I mean, all these kids, we go to counseling to learn how to help them. That's one of my guys hanging out in the library with me. He, the little boy that was in my lap, he leaves his classroom all the time. He just walks out, and he comes up to wherever I am, and he just hangs out, and nobody goes and looks for him. It's very different. Here we would be going, okay, I'm supposed to have 10 kids and I've only got 9. Where are they? And everybody'd panic. There, it's Panama. That's another celebrating the African. This is my gang. These are some of the games that you sent over. Sarah and Larry got together, and some of you sent supplies over. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate that. It's amazing. We don't have any textbooks. We have workbooks, but they can't afford textbooks. We do a lot of Xeroxing. So the supplies that you sent, things like these games, were so wonderful, because they'll come in and we'll practice and we'll do English and we'll do math or whatever they need to. And if they're really good at it, then we get to play a board game, and they get so excited. One day, Jason, one of the teachers, brought me 3 little boys that couldn't handle math. They had shut down. He didn't know what to do with them. They were tearing the class apart. So he brought them in, and they're pouty, they're mad, they're angry, and I'm going, okay, I know I'm not going to get anywhere with them. So I took some of the sidewalk chalk you sent, and we went out on the playground and we did math problems, and we did it all over the playground. And those children learned. Those children were having a ball. They started getting the math, and they were competing, and they were running, and we had the playground covered in math problems. It was awesome. And so the supplies and the things you sent meant so much. It's been hard. These children are beautiful, and I love them dearly. It's been tough. There's been days that I've cried. There's been days that I've called Annette and talked to her for an hour on the phone with her counseling me. There's been days that I questioned my sanity. There's been days I questioned the Lord's sanity. Did he really mean to send me there? What was he thinking? And was I in the right place? Well, I know I'm in the right place. I know that I'm where the Lord wants me to be. I know that we're making a difference. I know that he's happy and pleased with what we're doing. And that is such an awesome feeling, one I've never had before. It is tough. But one of the things that has seen me through is when I get online and I post something on Facebook and some of you respond. Maybe it's just a like, or maybe Toby makes comments, Susan makes comments, and it lets me know I'm not there alone. It lets me know that you're there with me. And I know your prayers have been there, and it has made a world of difference in me. And I realized when I was in Panama, even though I've been visiting here forever, that I really missed and needed that home church. And when I came back, I asked Richard if I could join, because you are my home church, and I need that. I need to keep going, and I need your prayers, and I need you with me. And it has made such a world of difference. And I just can't thank you enough for all your prayers and your support. You have seen me through, and you've been there with me. And I thank you for that. I thank Richard for having me here today, and Larry Black for, oh my goodness, he's the one who put together these pictures and made it possible, because I can't do anything like that. So I thank you all, and I appreciate your love and your support, and the commitment to the Lord is so important, and these children are so important, and I thank you very much.